Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of NFIHammer. So if you haven't picked up already by the title, this episode is a little bit different. One of the subscribers commented on my video and told me that you could get a free Warhammer miniature just by asking at a Warhammer store. And because I work right near one, I thought I'd give it a try for myself, but I was kind of convinced someone was just trolling me or pulling my leg. So I went in there and I asked, and they just handed me this Warhammer Cultist miniature for free, and I was like, really? I don't have to pay for it? And yeah, right enough, they do give away a free miniature every month. So this is my first non-40k miniature that I've ever really assembled and painted. And I know nothing about the Age of Sigmar. I know a little bit about 40k in that, you know, about the Necrons and the War in Heaven and the Emperor and everything, so it was all kind of new to me. But for people like myself that didn't really have any clue, the Age of Sigmar is like a alternate fantasy, sort of more fantasy themed than the sci-fi theme of 40k, and it's set at the time, the day that the rule of chaos over the mortal realms was broken. And this model comes from the Warcry, which is kind of like a skirmish level game that's in the Age of Sigmar setting, and it focuses on different warriors from different cultures, each with their own like goals and tactics and aspirations, and they're kind of known as war bands. And this miniature that I'm gluing together now is from a terrifying cult known as the Jade Obelisk, hailing from the accursed city of Nefrakar. And these warriors have struck a doomed pact with an eldritch entity known as the Speaker in the Stone, gaining great resilience and power. But, you know, the downside of that is their bodies slowly turn to stone. So yeah, I thought it seemed pretty cool and different, and I hadn't really painted any humans before. I did a Space Marine, but I don't know if you can count Space Marines as truly human with their enhanced genetics. The first thing that struck me with this model was just how tiny it was. It's really small compared to the others. Another tip that one of the great subscribers have commented on my previous videos is to try a grey spray paint. So I've been using black and I've been using white, and I'm not really happy with either. And so they suggested to give this a try. So I went to Bunnings and I picked this up for about $15. And yeah, I just thought it's a perfect opportunity to try it out because the model's free. So if I stuff it up, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it kind of looks pretty good. So this is it after it's been primed. It's got a lot of detail on it. And again, like, because it's so small, I was really kind of concerned how I'm going to try and paint all this together. So the first colour I used was Bugman's Glow, which came with the starter paint kit that my wife got me for Christmas just 10 weeks ago. So my idea here was, this is the closest colour I have to like a leather colour. So I thought I'd try and paint sort of this kind of, you know, pants, or I guess really it's more of a skirt. So I've also, another comment that someone gave me was to use the Citadel brush that came with the paint set. I'd been kind of holding off using it because I was worried that it was really high quality, but they assured me that it's kind of like their cheapest kind of freebie brush. My cat Artemis here was very annoyed that I wasn't giving him enough attention and love and pats, so he came and interrupted me, and I had to play with him for a little bit to appease him. So once he was appeased, I went back to painting. You might also notice that my setup is a little bit different. So I've gone to IKEA and I bought myself this new kind of lamp because I do a lot of my painting at nighttime after work. So the lighting, you know, is pretty poor, and because I'm trying to film it to kind of document my experience as a newbie entering this hobby, I really needed sort of an upgraded light to kind of capture it in the darkness. So yeah, let me know what you think about it. Is the camera angle too weird? Is it too bright, too close, too far away? Really appreciate everyone's feedback. So this is the color that I'm most disappointed with. This Rakarth flesh. I don't have a good, human Caucasian kind of flesh color. This was the closest I had. And I also, you can see here, I'm applying it way too thick. And it loses a lot of details in like the fingers, which I'm really disappointed about. So in hindsight, I should have like watered this down a lot more. And really, I should have probably tried to find a different color. But because I guess part of their lore is that they're turning into stone, I think it kind of worked all right. I also struggled, don't know if you noticed that there's like a very narrow gap between the boot and their legs, and trying to just paint that I found was really difficult. Like, I've kind of only been doing Necrons, and Necrons are pretty straightforward. They just got, brass, steel, and some black joints, and I was kind of blown away by like how much like detail are in these other types of miniatures. So then I decided to use a Baden black. Here I'm just kind of painting the boots. Just kind of thought, kind of makes sense to have black shoes. I don't know why, in my head it kind of makes sense. And then I also thought about where else there'd be this kind of tough leather applied. So he's got these bracelets which remind me from like the fashion from like the early 2000s. I don't know if you remember, but everyone was wearing leather bracelets back then. I know I embarrassingly owned one as well. And then I thought maybe this quiver strip at the end to hold the arrows. So I just painted that black as well. But I was kind of like, at this point, realizing that it's a lot more opportunity to express your creativity and stuff over kind of the Necrons are very cookie cutter, I guess. So this is a new paint that I bought when I got the free miniature. So it's Rhinox hide. So I just needed a brown color. There isn't really anything brown that comes in the starter kit. You can see there I accidentally put some on his hand there by mistake. So I'm just trying to paint everything that's wooden. So this wooden club, part of the bow would be wooden, and the arrow shaft would be wooden. The brown was a little bit darker than I was expecting. I kind of expected it more like a, if you picture a stick in your head, that kind of brown color, whereas this is almost black, almost, I would say, or black brown. But it kind of works, and it kind of breaks it up rather than just using black. But yeah, in hindsight, I'd probably go with a different color if I had a time machine. And then I just kind of painted that kind of snake shape down the back of the quiver, kind of thinking maybe it would be wood. So I got the Bugman's glow out again. I don't normally ever think about undercoats. I'm not at that advanced level yet where I'm really thinking that it makes any difference. But while I was painting it, I realized that this kind of cape that he wears over his shoulders and his head is kind of like a leather cape, but then it's been adorned with these brass spikes. And I was thinking, like, if I paint just the spikes, I need to have some color underneath, so that, if there's anything showing, it's not the gray primer showing through. So this is like the first time that I've really thought about base coating. I don't know if it's just because of the texture of the spikes that I was kind of worried about it. I think in the end, the brass kind of just covered the whole thing, including the bottom of the cape. It'll make more sense later. So I don't know if it was necessary or not. And you can also see there's big gaps in the models where the joins. So I think I kind of stuffed up the glue assembly earlier in the video. I'm still getting used to the camera angle as well, as you can see. I'm kind of moving it all over the place. Apologies there for the lack of focus. So I was trying to avoid painting his face and stuff. Again, like, I was kind of not used to working on a miniature this size. But the paintbrush I didn't find too difficult to use. I didn't find it's too bad. Keep in mind though, I've been using like $2 Kmart brushes, so anything is kind of like a upgrade from that perspective. So this is probably took the longest amount of time. I didn't really know what to paint his kind of rib cage area. I didn't know if he was like naked under there or if he was wearing some leather, so I just painted it as if he was wearing leather to protect his modesty. The next color was Runefang Steel, so he has these kind of very decorative shoulder pads, so I thought I'd use a brighter silver color here, but you can see I'm using my normal cheap $2 brushes and it's applying way too much paint. But another awesome subscriber commented to say that the metallic paint ruins brushes quite quickly, so I didn't want to use the Citadel one, even if it's not perfect. I still didn't want to kind of ruin it on my first use. So I also painted his kind of flaps, or his pockets, I guess, using the same silver, just to kind of put it in a couple of places to kind of make it look cohesive. And then here I'm trying to just suck up some of the excess paint. Then I've cracked out the lead belcher, which I'm very familiar with using it on my Necrons. And I'm just kind of painting kind of the chest front area with it, just because I feel like it's more of a durable, battle-worn color than the decorative silver plating. And I think it kind of works together with the brown and the silver. So already at this stage, I was kind of really happy with how it's turning out. And, you know, that it's a free model and I've already had all the paints and everything. Pretty cool. So then this is what I was talking about before. The shoulder and the head area has these spikes. So I wanted to paint the tips of the spikes this brass color, but you can see that my paint's very runny and it kind of falls into all the cracks anyway. So I don't know if that undercoat was really necessary. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I thought if they were just sticking to the tips of the spikes, then you would see some of that Bugman's red come through, but it didn't really happen. So yeah, I'm just kind of applying the brass to these spiky areas. And so yeah, it's really coming together already. So I was pretty excited about it. And then I got some Nuln oil that I got from an Imperium magazine, and I'm just kind of culling in all the armor plates and stuff. And I'm trying to bring out those details. So there's like quite a lot of like intricate patterns and designs in the armor. You can see here that the paint wasn't too thick on the shoulder blade at the end. And then here I'm painting in the crevices of the cape, the pointy cape, and just trying to like give it some texture. And you can see there that I've got way too much on my brush, so then I spend the next couple of minutes trying to soak that up and move it around into other areas, because I don't know what happened there, but it went overboard. So yeah, it's already kind of coming together. It looks way more like battle hardened and less kind of he's come out of a factory, and because he doesn't have like living metal, you know, it's much more realistic. So then I've cracked out the Agrax Earthshade, which has more of a brown tint, and here I'm just kind of applying it to the leather to kind of give it a bit more of a fabric-y look. I was actually quite impressed with how it looked. I thought it was going to look very plasticky, but it does actually. I think the model is well designed so that the pools of the shade really make it look textured. Macragge Blue here, I was just kind of wanting the quiver to kind of stand out a little bit on its back, and I hadn't used any blue on the model so far. It really wasn't, it was just an artistic choice. It really wasn't much logic that went into it. I just had this paint lying around and I thought it would be different, but I somehow managed to put the paint into some awkward places. So then this Avalan Sunset is a yellow paint, and again, same logic as the blue, I just had it lying around. So I thought that the arrow feathers could come from some sort of exotic bird and make it yellow, but I just thought it kind of stands out a little bit different. I was kind of thinking originally green, but I think I'm, going to save the green for something else. So yeah, yellow it was. So I was just kind of painting them. And then the next part was the Korax white. So I wanted the bowstring to be white. I don't know why. I don't know what the bowstring would even be made out of in this universe, but I don't know. In my head, white made sense. But it's kind of hard to get enough coats on this, and I end up putting the white paint onto the model where I was trying to avoid it. So that wasn't great. Maybe I should have painted the bowstring earlier. You can see there I put it on the actual bow itself. And then there's some, I guess, shoelaces is what I'd call it, on his boots that I try and paint white. I don't know why, but at the time it made sense. And then, yeah, there's also another strap on his quiver. And then there's these dots on his 2010 leather braces, and I just painted white. I really didn't know what to do with this. If anyone wants to give me some advice in the comments below, but I wanted to highlight those dots, but couldn't think of anything better. So this metallic blue-green I bought from my local post office, and I thought this would be a really cool color to bring out some of the Jade artifacts. So he's got this kind of bird skull talisman thing, and then also his face has, turned into this jade mask. And I just thought that the metallic nature of it and the interesting color would really stand out. So I'm just trying to avoid getting the paint onto his neck or his hood. And then this bright green that I bought, again from the same place, it's a Mr. Hobby paint. One of the subscribers in the comments told me that this is not actually like a water-based paint, and I think it's acrylic or something. So yeah, I probably shouldn't be mixing them, but I don't really know what I'm doing. But I think it does kind of give it a cool, different gloss finish than the other paints. And I think it just helps stand out a little bit. So here I've gone and got the Nuln oil out again, and I just going over the white that I painted just to make it look more fabric-y again. And then I'm also like putting it on the dots and on the chest plate just to kind of highlight those grooves in there. And then also the feathers, there's a lot of detail on those. So it just help highlighting, bringing that stuff out. And again, just going over anything that I think could do with some extra highlighting. So yeah, it's kind of already coming together pretty well. And it didn't take super long. So the next step I wanted to do was the base. So I don't normally include the bases in the videos, but this one I thought, why not? So what I'm applying is a really light cover of PVA glue onto the base. I don't go right to the edges, and that bites me in the butt later. So yeah, tip there is make sure it's like fully covered. And then I'm dipping it into this very expensive sand that I bought for $12 dues. And while the glue is hardening on the base, I've cracked out this Ard Coat paint that I bought for like a glossy finish. And I'm kind of just going over all the metallic areas, like the shoulder pads and his front and his mask, and just kind of giving it a bit of a gloss finish to kind of give it a bit more shine. And now that the glue on the sand has dried, I'm putting another dollop of glue in the front. And I've got my static grass that I bought, and I'm just applying that on the top. And when I was in the Warhammer store, the kind person working there recommended that if I tip it upside down and like just let gravity do the work, and it will naturally kind of fall upwards, or I guess downwards when it's upside down, and that can kind of help give it a more realistic appearance. Because I don't have a static grass applicator. So this is what it looked like in the end. It's not perfect. It's kind of a little bit all over the place. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was kind of okay. And then the rims, I normally paint black on my Necrons, but because I had this wood color, I was like, well, I might as well use it, and maybe it'll kind of artistically bring it all together. So I just painted the rim with it. So this is the final product. So I was actually really happy with how it turned out. There's a lot of details. I think Necrons are very simplistic, I'm learning, and there's a whole world of different things out there. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. How did you find this new video format? How do you find the new camera? If you can drop a subscribe and a like, it really helps me out and keeps me motivated to keep going. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next week. Later.